What's good, YouTube? This is Mr. Purple Zero back with another video. Last month, George Karl said, and I quote, Carmelo Anthony was a ball hog and a shitty defender. He didn't tell no lie. What he's saying is truth, but it's lacking substance. Because you see, Carmelo Anthony was never a good defender. We talking about since he came into the league, since Syracuse. He wasn't no good defender. What you got out of Carmelo is what you're going to always get out of Carmelo. He's an elite scorer. Not now, but we're talking back in Denver. When you put up 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, that's a scorer. Anything with 20 and up, especially at 24 points a night, because you know 24 points ain't 24 points. That means some nights he had 30, some nights he probably dropped 40, damn near 20, but that's buckets. He's a scorer. That's it. You can see it throughout all his clips, whether it be off season, during the season. He's working on isolation plays. He does hold the ball a lot, but in his prime, we're talking Denver Nuggets prime, Carmelo was about scoring buckets. And at the end of the day, the goal is to put the goal is to put the ball in the hole. That's it, period. It's to score points. Everybody can't be a facilitator, playmakers, like LeBron James. Everybody don't got eyes behind their heads. Everybody ain't gonna pass like that. You got scorers, you got defenders, you got playmakers, you got all different types of players. Carmelo Anthony was a scorer. That's it, plain and simple. Out of the 8 years with Denver Nuggets, they went to the playoffs 7 times out of the 8 years that he was with Denver. To me, that's all success. Your goal is to try to win a championship. It's not going to be easy. The road is hard. He's in the West. That's one. You know, the West has been powerful for years. The West is starting to change up now because the league is changing up. There's a lot of more super teams opposed to back then. But going through the West was a tough deal. You had to go through Spurs. You had the Lakers. There were numerous teams that you had to battle through every night. And come playoff time, if you wasn't on point, you're out the first round. Carmelo brought that action to the Nuggets. He brought scoring at a high level to the Nuggets. So what George Karl is saying, yes, she's right, but he's also an ass. He's a bozo for that because he had problems with multiple players. DeMarcus Cousins, J.R. Smith. Who else? Andre Iguodala, Ty Lawson. The list goes on of old players that play for Denver. DeMarcus Cousins back with the Kings. But old Denver players that have problems with George Karl. He just has problems with a lot of players. But you can't badmouth Carmelo, a guy that gave your team buckets, that put Denver on the map during the time he was there. He was that dude. My only gripe with Melo is, and I don't really have a gripe with him because he is what he is. I knew what he was from the beginning to the end. He is what he is. He was never going to be a defender. But my gripe was with, if he were to work on that part of his game, he would be amongst the elites much higher. Much higher, I think, because I know it's in him. But what Carmelo likes to do, he just wants to score. That's what he does. He's a scorer. Give him the ball, get out the way. He's going to drop a bucket. And that's what he was doing with Denver. Now, when you really sit back and you analyze, you say, wait, George Karl, why now? Why are you mouthing off now? Because this is a bitter old man. He's mad. He ain't never get to that upper echelon amongst coaches. He's respected among a lot of coaches, but he's also disrespected too. People don't fuck with George Karl. Who the fuck is George Karl? Who's George Karl? A lot of these players make these coaches. You see, and I hate to do this, but let's bring up Phil Jackson. Let's not even Phil Jackson. Even though he was blessed throughout his whole career, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, that's handing somebody a gift. But a lot of these coaches we put up on a higher level because of who they coach. But that doesn't mean those players wasn't going to get busy and make those teams win without them. Look at Steve Kerr. Huh? Steve Kerr was blessed with a beautiful team that Mark Jackson already built from the ground up. Y'all forgot about that. He got handed a team, basically keys to the whip. Sometimes coaches are overrated, sometimes players are overrated. But when you get blessed with a Steph Curry, well, they built that. But when you get blessed with a Michael Jordan, you know, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, that's blessings. You're going to kill with that kind of mob. But to get back to the point and to the narrative is, what George Karl said, he was not wrong. Carmelo is a ball hog. He was a ball hog in Denver. But that is okay. He was a scorer. If my team has a ball hog, But we're winning games. There's not a problem with it. There's only a problem when you start losing, and that's the problem with George Karl. You're running your mouth when the team starts losing, but you ain't saying nothing when they was winning. You played 8 seasons with them. Pardon me. You coached 8 seasons with Carmelo on that team. So cut the bullshit. Carmelo was an elite scorer when he was on Denver. Elite. 24 points plus a game is buckets, especially during that time. Especially during that time. Now everybody's coming down, pulling threes and whatnot. Carmelo used to get it in the middle of basketball. We're talking about low post action, mid-block, back to the basket, mid-range shot, three-point shot, bully ball. He had athleticism. Carmelo was damn near half a man that he was before. He put on some weight now, but he's not he's older now, a little heavier than before. But he was slimmed down, and he could move. He does have a little bit of athleticism. He was never no high flyer, but he got busy. So I think it's disrespectful for George Karl to come out of his face later on now, years after, because he's just a bitter old man. He's probably got nothing else better to do. But put a little more respect on Carmelo's name, because Carmelo put that work in. Everybody's not going to be an elite defender. Everybody's not going to be James Harden. He's just straight scoring too. He ain't no defense over there too. But talk about the players. Go down the list. Look at Steph Curry. Do you think Steph Curry guards Damian Lillard when they're out there on the court? No. Who does that? Klay Thompson, he guards their best guy. You think Steph Curry guards Russell Westbrook? No, who guards him? Klay Thompson. They hide Curry. They put him on a shooter like a Danny Green and let him sit in the corner, because Curry is about scoring buckets and playmaking ability. His job is not to be out there as a lockdown defender. You have to know your player. They have scouting coaches. They got main coaches. Before they drafted Carmelo Anthony, they knew what they was getting. So when you have a player like Carmelo Anthony, especially in his prime, you build around him properly. That's it. You set him up with defenders around him so you can hide him within your offense hide him on your defense, and when it's offensive time, you get busy. Allen Iverson, look at the team he had when he went to the finals against the Lakers. They were a bunch of bums. Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, no disrespect. But Iverson was that dude. He was the one that put up the bulk of the numbers, the bulk of the points. If Iverson don't drop those points, it's not coming from nowhere. They just didn't have it. Look at the roster. They didn't have it. But he took a team like that all the way to the finals. Why? Because they surrounded him with the pieces that they needed to build in order to get there. Dikembe Mutombo. Eric Snow was just a regular point guard. Nothing special, no pizzazz. Aaron McKee dropped a little bit of buckets. But they had a bunch of bums, a bunch of nobodies on that team, and they still went to the finals because he was surrounded with the right people. When you got a guy like Carmelo Anthony in his prime, you surround him with the right people in order to win, to be successful. That's what good coaches do. That's what great coaches do. They don't sit back and talk shit about their players, that this is a ball hog. You coach that ball hog. You coached them. Know what you have, know your personnel. Carmelo is a scorer. He was an elite scorer with Denver, and that's it. That's what you got out of him. If it was your problem that you didn't surround him with the proper pieces in order to get further. And they did get far at one point in time. You remember the Thuggers they used to call him? Kenyon Martin, Birdman, J.R. Smith, Nene. They had a mob, but they ran up against Kobe and got knocked out. That's just the way the ball bounces sometimes.